So today we're going to do the anti TBR tag, and I loved this idea. I fear I might not know enough authors and books to actually answer the questions, because anything that I deem not worthy of my time, and I know this sounds horrible, but it will just leave my mind. Meaning, if I think that I'm not going to like a book, I probably won't remember the title because my brain filters out anything that it does not deem necessary. So we'll see if I can even answer these questions. I'm a little nervous, but I love the idea. Let's get into it. A popular book everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. Okay, so there is one book that comes to mind here, and that is A Little Life. And I actually started A Little Life because booktube really hyped it, and I think I read about 100 pages and then I DNF'd it and actually gave away the book, which is not very typical for me. But I don't know, I got this feeling like I shouldn't read this book, and I have not looked back since. Now, in the meantime, I've watched a few reading vlogs, and I also read the Wikipedia article on the book because it was so hyped and I wanted to understand what the hype was about, but it was like, I don't think I want to read this book, and it must have been survival instinct or something. I mean, I love emotional books and I love stories that are complicated because people are complicated, so I like when stories reflect that. But for the amount of trauma and the amount of horrible things that happen in the book, including the ending, and with that ending, I was just so glad I DNF'd it, and I have no interest in never reading it because I think it would have completely wrecked me, and it would have probably completely turned me off of reading for a long time, and so I am glad I didn't finish it. I just do not feel the need to go back there, even though it was highly recommended and so many people did love the book. A classic book or author you don't have an interest in reading. So the author that comes to mind here is Hemingway. This may be very controversial. I've actually started reading Hemingway once or twice, and I could just not get into his style of writing, and I just don't feel like I need to read it for some reason. I know they're big classics and they shaped all kinds of things and they're really important books, but I just could never get on board with his style, and it's like, why would I do that in my free time? You know, I'm not reading academically, I'm reading mostly for fun, and then I figure, yes, I want to read challenging books, of course, and there are some books that are challenging. I find John Steinbeck challenging, for example. That's a classic author, but I feel like his writing style may be different and the stories are difficult. It still stirs something in me. It just feels like I get something out of the story, whereas with Hemingway I felt like I got nothing from the story. So I eventually decided I'm just not reading Hemingway even though my parents both love him and I kind of feel bad because of it, but no interest. A problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. Oh, problematic author. I don't know. I can't think of anyone. J.K. Rowling's the only author that I can really think of as problematic. Let me know in the comments who you would say is a problematic author. But with J.K. Rowling, I still read the books. I still read Harry Potter every single day, basically, because I listen to the books every day, and I still intend on reading the books even though I don't support her or her views. Absolutely not. I don't know, what she created means so much to me, and even if I may not agree with her anymore, certainly do agree with her books and the message that her book sends. But I can't think of anyone else. Let me know in the comments who you would say is a problematic author that we should give up reading. Let me know. An author you have read a couple books from and have decided their books are not for you. Okay. So Zadie Smith, I think it is. I read her book London NW. And so many people loved it and I felt so bad, but I didn't like it. It's just, I can't remember why pretty much, and I DNF'd it halfway through because I just didn't enjoy it at all. I think it was partly the writing style. I could not get on board with the style, the way it was written, and I think it was really confusing for me. So I just haven't touched anything since. So I'm just haven't gone close to Zadie Smith. Maybe she will do something one day that I really like, but I don't know. After that I decided, probably not my thing. A genre you have no interest in, or a genre you tried to get into and couldn't. I don't like fantasy. A genre I cannot get into is most definitely fantasy. I think Harry Potter is the most fantasy I've ever read. I think Harry Potter, Narnia, and Inkheart when I was a child or teen, those were the only three that I really read. And I really don't like fantasy. My mind just doesn't resonate with it. I don't know why. It's just not a thing. I also very often don't like magical realism. I don't know. I guess I don't like the way problems can be solved with magical solutions or fantasy solutions, because it's like I can't deal with that in my daily life, so I prefer to read something that has similar hardships or hardships that we know in this world and think about how we could solve those problems without magic or fantasy or whatever. So I don't know, it's never resonated with me. I also tried reading The Lord of the Rings and that was like okay, but still didn't like it as much. So I don't know, fantasy is just not my thing. Never really got into it. Too epic for me. I guess my brain is very literal, very practical, doesn't like epic stuff as much. A book you have bought but will never read. Probably the books by Marcel Proust that I have flying out there, and they're beautiful editions. They're really pretty, but I don't really intend on reading them. They're just in such a cool condition, and sometimes I just like the way they look, and they just look nice in my book collection. Probably won't be reading them though. A series you have no interest in reading, or a series you started and have DNF'd. I think the Game of Thrones series, I don't really know if the books are called the same thing as the series. So whatever the Game of Thrones books are called, I don't have any interest in reading that series. Every once in a while I've thought about it, but I didn't even really like the Game of Thrones. I know this is very controversial. Oh my god, are you gonna hate me after this video? I really didn't like Game of Thrones at all. It was just not my thing. I am not a person that really likes a lot of violence in series and in movies because it just pisses me off. It's like, you have to put this much violence and sex into a TV show to make it interesting for people. I don't know. I watched the first 2 seasons of it, didn't like it, and then I finished the series with my boyfriend, so I watched the last season with him as well. I know a lot of people didn't like the last season anyway, so I'm not going to judge based on that, but I did watch the first 2 seasons and never really enjoyed it, so I don't think I'll try the books either. That is a series I am just not interested in. A new release you have no interest in reading. Oh my gosh. I do know a few because of Book of the Month, but this is one of those situations where I'd say I don't know what they're called because my brain has obviously already decided I'm not interested in them. So they just flit and leave my mind. I guess what I am usually not interested in is like romance. Every once in a while I feel like reading a romance novel, but not very often. So I think that those are usually debut novels, or at least new releases, where I'd say that's not interesting to me. But other than that, can't think of anything right now. That wasn't a very strong ending. So that was the anti TBR tag. I thought these questions were really difficult, and I hope you don't hate me after this video. I outed myself. I don't like fantasy. That's obviously going to be a big issue for some people. Let me know the answers you would give to these questions in the comments, because I do think they're really, really difficult. And obviously I'm not trying to like insult anyone here. This is just my personal opinion and my personal taste, but that does not mean that I look down on any people that love the things that I don't like. I mean, obviously a lot of people like Game of Thrones. I'm not going to judge you for liking Game of Thrones. I personally just don't like it, but who cares what I think? Yeah, just leave your answers in the comments below. I'd love to hear from them, hear from you, and yeah, we'll see each other soon. Bye.